Yeah, so we are going to look at the basics of management. So we're going to look at what management is, what does it entail. If you are to become a manager, what do you need? What competences you need to have? Why is it very important that you actually study this management as a module? So those are the things that we are going to focus on. So management is an art as well as a science of organizing, planning, coordinating, and controlling resources to achieve specific goals. So this is to say that within an organization, we have different resources. We have the human resources, we have what you can call the capital resources, and then we have the financial resources. Making sure that you coordinate, organize, plan, even control these resources in order to achieve organizational goals is what we term as management. Therefore, management involves you making decisions on these resources, okay? Solving problems that can emerge, and also seeing to it that actually the people who are working within an organization and work as a team to make sure that the organizational objectives achieved. So management has functions. So it is not, management is not one task. It involves a number of tasks, or it involves a number of activities. Okay, so it has activities to do with planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So when we talk about planning, we are basically referring to making sure that the organization can achieve its mission. So what needs to be put in place in order to achieve this mission, the objectives, also the goals. Okay, so it involves strategizing, making sure that you position yourself in a way that the organization be competitive, be able to achieve its mission. And then organizing, okay, making sure that you have the right people at the right places, in the right setup, the right kind of basically resources in place to make sure that you have smooth flow of activities. Okay, if you don't have the right resources at the right time, the right infrastructure that will allow the processes to move smoothly, it means that you have a problem with organizing. So organizing is about the organizational design, structuring, the culture, the social networks, about organizing. And then leading is about basically leadership, where you make sure that the people you're working with understand where the organization needs to reach, or the vision of the organization. Okay, so what decisions can be made? How can you inspire people or even motivate them such that they can really see the vision of the organization? They can work towards it. And then controlling is about making sure that you move, or the organization is optimally utilizing resources, and there is no wastage, but the processes are basically what planned, okay, such that you don't have the group or the organization deviating from what it was set out to achieve. So that's about controlling. So it's about ensuring that the processes are appropriate and that the objectives of the organization can be achieved. So like I said, management involves a number of activities, which include making sure that decisions are made, so problems are solved, making sure that the communication is appropriate, tasks can be delegated to the right people, and the right tasks are delegated to the right people. And then about negotiation. Okay, you as a manager, you'll be involved in negotiation, in staffing, in budgeting, in controlling, reporting, and also motivating staff, also representing the organization. It's kind of one. So you have a number of activities that you'll be involved in as. So overall, the manager, the overall goal of the manager is to make sure that the organization is functioning efficiently and at a profit. Okay, if the organization is not achieving profitability, especially if it is a for-profit organization, it is a different thing if it is basically, if it is a humanitarian organization. Humanitarian organizations don't aim at making profits. But with a humanitarian organization, you basically look at what you call value for money. Okay, the interventions that you are involved in as a humanitarian organization, what value or what impact is created. Okay, that's what we look at. But again, also in humanitarian organizations as well as in private organizations, we look at optimally using resources to achieve the best outcomes. Okay, so efficiencies cuts across, regardless of whether we are talking about a non-profit organization or a for-profit organization. So there is a message here. Let me check. Okay, someone is saying hi. All right. So we move to the next slide. So why is organization management very important? Management is very important for a number of reasons. Like I said in the previous slide, if you don't have the organization achieving its objectives, that is making sure that they are basically working in a profit and also minimizing resources. Actually, minimizing wastage of resources contributes to profitability. Okay? So if you have poor management, it means it is not very easy to have the organization running efficiently and also on a profit. Okay, so it is very important that you have an efficient management team, such that the organization objectives can be achieved, resources are not misused, the environment is not toxic. Okay, toxic work environment is something that we shall discuss during this morning. Now, what contributes to a toxic work environment? Managers contribute this. So we shall look at that. So as a manager, you need to make sure that you promote a healthy working environment where conflicts are well handled, where people can take initiative, where people can innovate, where there is collaboration. Those are very important features of a very healthy working environment or a non-toxic work environment. You want to cultivate positive relationships with employees, customers, and stakeholders. Okay, this also relates back to a toxic work environment. When people are not motivated, people are not interested in what they are doing. They just look at customers just like any other people. They are not very interested in serving the customers. The stakeholders are basically, or the shareholders are interested in getting the profits and not the welfare of the staff, things like that. So it is very important that you cultivate positive relationships with the shareholders, basically, and also the stakeholders, the employees, the customers, the communities, the authorities. It is very, very important to have a positive relationship. And then the other important aspect, which is also very important, is making sure that you have an organization that is flexible and responsive to changes in the market, also technology. We live in a dynamic environment, a dynamic economic environment where customers' preferences and needs keep changing. As an organization, you need to be able to respond to these changes. Okay, so you need to get feedback from your customers, such that you can actually tailor your services to their preferences and tastes. Okay, also competition is very stiff. And this competition is also driven by invention, also technology. So you need to keep up with the technology in order to remain relevant in the market. Okay, so mainly, if you have a committed, strong, motivated management team, then the organization. Okay, so it is very important to have a strong management team. Okay, so if you want to become a manager, what skills do you need, or what career journey you need to take? Okay, so management is not only a practical skill, but it also involves you gaining sufficient knowledge through reading, through academic programs that can enhance your management knowledge, skills. Okay, so it is very important for you to take management very seriously, because it is an academic discipline with a vast knowledge or information, theories, frameworks, and research findings. Okay, management has been evolving from one century to the other. The management in the 21st century is different from the management of the 20th century. Okay, so you need to be updated with the research findings in the management field. Okay, what are the applicable theories of management? What are the applicable, or what are the current, or what are the contemporary theoretical frameworks being applied? Management is a vast field. It has subdivisions or specialized fields like human resource management, marketing management, and also financial management. Okay, so you need to have a bit of all this. You need to understand the principles of human resource management. What are the key principles in marketing? So finance management. And we'll look at this in this module. We shall look at all these aspects of human resource management, marketing, and also finance management. So you work with a team. You don't work alone. In an organization, you have different people working to achieve the objectives of the organization. Okay, so you work with the teams, you will have team leaders, then you have followers. Therefore, if you have the effective skills in management, you'll be able to lead these teams to achieving their goals. Okay, so that means that you need to know how to handle people. Okay, so you need to understand the dynamics, managing groups. So we shall look at group formations. What are the dynamics of forming groups? What theories can be applied? What are the characteristics of effective teams? What is followership? Who is an effective follower? We shall look at all that in the subsequent lectures. So we move to the next slide. What are the things that you really need to grasp to be a very competent manager. One is analytical thinking. Okay, analytical thinking relates to the fact that you see, you have a problem, that a problem is caused by multiple factors. So you need to understand how different factors contribute to this problem. Okay, so you should be able to relate in abstract format how different concepts relate to one another, and then make informed decision. Okay, in the one that we work in, you will not have one factor causing a one problem. You will have different factors contributing to one single problem. So how do you deal with this problem? How best can you deal with this problem? You need to have analytical thinking skills to be able to make decisions that can be impactful in dealing with the problem. Related to that is what we call strategic planning. Okay. How do you make sure that the organization can still remain relevant in 3, 4, or even 10 years? Okay, so long-term goals and objectives. You have the skills to make sure that the organizations that you're working for continue to remain relevant in that span duration. Okay, it requires you to have strategic thinking skills, strategic planning skills to be able to achieve that. So we move to the next. The third competence that you require is what you call emotional intelligence. Okay, remember I said that you are dealing with people. People have emotions. How are your emotions impacting on others? Are you aware of your own emotions? Okay, if people are undergoing through certain emotions, can you understand and treat them with empathy, such that you have a positive relationship? So it is very important that you really understand the role of emotions and the role of your emotions on the performance of your subordinates. It's very, very important. And then adaptability, which we earlier on explained in terms of the analytical thinking skills. Okay, you should be able to notice that there's going to be a change, either in customers or in technology, and therefore be able to respond appropriately. Okay, so you need to be able to adapt to changes. Adapting is very important for the survival sections. Okay, and then resilience. We want in different difficult terrain. We want in difficult situations, but how do you work within those situations and even prosper? So how do we see growth in an organization, in an environment which is or harsh? Okay, so when we talk about environment in our context, we talk about the conflicts, we talk about the financial situation or the economic situation where we have inflation, high inflation. How do we make sure that the organization can continue to survive in these harsh situations? Or even sometimes you can have a period of stiff competition from another organization. So how do you survive through that? How do you make sure that you maintain the staff motivated and interested in pursuing the organizational mission? And then integrity. Often, if the situations are very tough, people can turn to what we call underhand methods in order to survive. When we talk about underhand methods in order to survive, they use unhealthy tactics to survive in business. Okay, That is an issue of integrity. Okay, if you don't act in a transparent, ethical manner, then you don't have integrity. Okay, so always you should be open, you should be transparent, you should be very honest. Okay, such that your reputation as an organization is not destroyed. So integrity is very important. As leaders, your acts, how you behave, reflects on the organization. Okay, so you should be a person who is uncorruptible. Should be a manager who is uncorruptible. So we move to the last competence here is what you call cultural awareness, which is basically the fact that you're going to work with a group of people from around the world with diverse cultural practices and values. How do you foster a relationship that respects other people's cultures? That is very, very important, especially in what we now call a global village. We work in an organization where you have people from different spheres. So it is very important that you're aware about your own cultural prejudices. Okay, there is a tendency that people have that they think that their cultures are superior to other people's culture. Okay, so you need to be aware of such instances. Okay, so generally, what is the thing called management is about setting goals, making sure that these goals are achieved, basically the objectives. And then there are processes. Okay, management is based on processes within an organization. So how these processes organized is very important for smooth flow of activities. And then third is that management is human-centered. This is now what is basically one of the organized approaches to management. Okay, if you look at people as humans in an organization, not as people who basically only work towards achieving the objectives of the organization, but you also need to look at them as humans who have needs, frustrations, emotions, and other things. Okay, so it's very important for you to recognize that. And when you do that, then it becomes very easy to keep them motivated and interested in what they're basically doing. So, of course, I've jumped to one, adaptability and decision making, which we earlier on explained. Everyone at any point, if you work within an organization, you're basically carrying out management functions on a daily basis, regardless of what position you are holding. Okay, so within an organization, almost everyone should be knowledgeable about basic management principles because they actually carry out functions. So within an organization, we have different layers or levels of management: top management, middle management, and then management. Okay, when we talk about top management, we are basically referring to the people who are basically at the strategic level. Okay, when we talk about top management, think about strategy. Okay, the people who set the direction of the organization, what needs to be achieved in the next 3-4 years. Okay, but also these are people who make major decisions. Okay, if it is about restructuring, laying off staff, this decision comes from top management. The annual budget approvals, it is a top management function. Okay, someone has entered with their George. Okay, So that is top level management. And then we move to the middle management. These are the people who now implement the objectives of the top management. Okay. So here you have the different directors depending on the organizational structure. Okay. So if the top management decides that the restructuring needs to happen, we need to reduce the number of staff from 100 to 20. Okay. So that's the decision that has been taken by the top management. And then the middle management comes and now starts the communication process, the actual restructuring, downsizing of the staff, which is middle management. Okay, and then the first line managers are the ones who oversee the operations of day-to-day, the day-to-day businesses or operations. Okay, those are the first line. So they talk directly to the employees. Okay, so for example, if we are talking about a hospital setting, we have the head of clinicians talking directly to the doctors. Then you can have the head of the head nurse, for example, talking directly to the nurses and midwives. Okay, those are the front line if it is a healthcare organization. So move the next slide. So what's the difference between administration management? We have already looked at the fact that management is about making sure that the organizational objectives achieved. So make sure that you manage the resources very well. Say the resources can be human, financial, or even equipment or capital resources. Okay. But now, when it comes to administration, administration is basically focused on implementing policies and maintaining records and ensuring that the activities, the day-to-day activities are running smoothly. Okay. Now, to think about this, think about the captain of the ship. Okay. The captain of the ship, that is the management part. Now, the crew of the ship, that's the administration. Okay, so the crew of the ship makes sure that actually the ship is not, is actually well fueled. The ship is not having any damage. The ship is actually well serviced. That's administration. Management, the captain of the ship, making sure that the ship can now move forward, following the right direction. Okay, and knowing which direction to avoid, which one to follow. Okay, so that's the management. Whereas administration is making sure that the ship is in a good situation or condition to run or to move smoothly, efficiently. So what are the things that are happening in management? Okay, one is that there is now the increased use of technology. Okay, so we have tasks that are done remotely or through using different technologies, teleconferencing. We have what we call collaborative tools. Okay, for example, we work in one single document. Or for example, when we are making a document, and can work on the same document with the same person, with another person in another country. Okay, that is collaborative work. But that collaborative work is because of internet or technology. Okay, so there is globalization, but from digitalization, we have globalization. Or digitalization actually enables globalization. Okay, so you work with different people from different continents. Okay, they can be people who are basically waking up now. But for my end, I'm actually preparing to go home. Okay, but we still continue to work. Okay, so you will have consortia working on a project on different continents. Okay, tackling a given problem, but living in different time zones. And then there is another very important aspect of principle that there's a lot of emphasis on, which is about sustainability. Okay, sustainability. We need to look at the impact of the activities of the organization on the environment, or what are the things that, what practices are we putting in place to make sure that we protect the environment, or what activities are we engaged in order to give back to the community that we are working on. So these days, it is not only about making profits, but it's also about making sure that we give back to the community. That is what we call social corporate responsibility. So it is one of the things that is also very, very important. And then the last point is that we are employing what we call agile methodologies. These are techniques that we need to apply in order to understand the market dynamics and be able to respond appropriately. Okay, so it's the recognition that you see customer preferences change, and we need to know when they are changing and be able to respond to these changes. So that is what we call agile methodologies. So that marks the end of this presentation.